What is up, guys? Steve Crow, and I am back to doing some videos for my art, and this time I'm going to be doing some warhammers. You can see that I started out with a base, pretty bland body, and what I wanted to do was just trying to try and take some of the shapes and run with that idea and try a few different themed weapons. Weapons aren't necessarily one of the strong suits that I have. I don't draw them as much as I would like, though. Being a World of Warcraft fanatic, I find that I'm a sucker for awesome weapon design, so I kind of want to try and up that part of my game. So here you can see I'm just kind of like playing with some shapes. I don't really erase too much on these ones because I don't know. I just kind of I get going and I just kind of have fun with some of the ideas, and I think some of the ideas could have been executed a little bit better. Like the runes here aren't necessarily the greatest idea, but none of these did I spend too long on. I think the overall drawing time was just a little bit over an hour for when all three of these were done. So I mean, a little over 20 minutes for each isn't too bad. And all of these hammers, by the time I'm done with them in this video, they're going to be rough. I'm going to make a part 2 of this video and clean them up, because you can kind of see some of the line work is like the line weight is a little bit off and doesn't necessarily make a whole lot of sense. So I'll clean up the line weight, I'll clean up some of the edges, and yeah. So first hammer was a little angelic. Has like the color scheme I had in mind was like gold and white. This one I wanted to go complete opposite direction because the other one was so clean. So I was thinking to myself I would do something a little more steampunk inspired. And I was thinking like how cool it would be is if it had some of these gears on it, and when you hit the head of the hammer on something, you could actually activate it, and the hammer would like continue pulsing and like just smashing your enemies into pulverines. I don't know what that is. But yeah, so I also thought it would be, cool since it's steampunk, it'd be coal powered. So it'd be spitting out quite a bit of steam and stuff when it was activated. But I think out of the three, I think this one was my favorite, and I think partially because it was something I'm not super comfortable with. I don't really draw a lot of steampunk stuff. I like when I see well executed steampunk stuff, but I don't know, it was just one of those ones that kind of hit the spot when I was going, and I just felt like it kind of got in like a nice little flow, and definitely still needs some refining, but I think the concept is a really fun concept. Like it'd be cool to see a badass steampunk dude swinging his hammer and it's going crazy with steam kicking out. So last one I'm gonna do is very dwarven inspired. I kind of wanted to run a little bit more with the initial shape that I had and kind of play up the idea, of kind of that pretty stereotypical hammer, but see if I could make it a little bit cooler. And I think hammers are pretty cool and they have big old dwarven faces. It's funny looking at some of the Warcraft or even other MMOs like Guild Wars, like you find a lot of similar shape stuff. I mean, Warcraft of course is more bulky, but I don't know, it doesn't seem like there's too much that you can do with a hammer. Then again, there's a lot you can do with the hammer. I mean, the steampunk one is quite different, so I don't know what I was doing here. I suppose I was just recording and I didn't realize I was recording. I was probably talking to one of the guys in the studio behind me. Maybe I'm back? No? Alright. I guess we're going to look at this for a second. Yeah, so I mean, in the designs that I already have, like you can see, where it all kind of started and how everything kind of like just changes. And a lot of that is just because of the process that I'm using, which, I mean, you can kind of see it. I put some really rough lines down and then I just erase them and kind of I find the shapes that are in kind of the rougher lines, and then I play with that and let that kind of like guide where the actual line work's going to go and how things are going to sit. And with this last dwarven one, it's the only one of the three that has a lot of. It's really symmetrical, so I do a lot of copying and pasting and flipping just so everything is just matched up. You can't do that traditionally, but I think that's part of the awesome part of digital is, especially for concepts, like if you need something that is going to look, like it's completely balanced, like a warhammer like that with two of the massive, I don't know what they're called, but sides you're going to smash somebody's face with, like it makes sense that you'd want that weight to be consistent on both sides. So did a little bit of that, and now just throwing in some details. I think that's like one of my favorite things is like starting to learn how to render out the metals a little bit more. Like that's got to be easily one of the most fun parts of everything. If you can get like some cool metal textures, it's a blast. So, and then I looked at some Norse stuff because dwarves are Norse looking, kind of Viking-ish sort of dudes. So yeah, just throwing in some stuff to kind of break up some of those shapes so they're not so boring. Give him some design to his beard. I was thinking about if I could get those shapes to look right, you could almost think of that as like, I mean, I know it's going to be stone, but that could be his beard and it's braided. I really wanted to play with kind of like that idea of a cliche dwarf, even though I think this says Warforged at some point at the bottom of the page. Yeah, and my dwarves are not. They're not that kind of dwarf. So now I'm just going to go in and kind of lay like a flat tone so I can kind of erase and kind of put a little bit more value and kind of try and draw your eyes to certain places. But I don't necessarily think it's as successful as I would have liked it because I definitely didn't take the time to clean up and refine the lines enough. But I believe I'm going to do a second video and I may throw in all the colors, but you can kind of still see how just erasing on that flat value kind of starts giving it a little bit more shape and gives you a little bit more understanding of where everything sits in space. Really trying to get better at thinking about things in 3D and the way that they would look, Sometimes I definitely break rules, and there's sometimes I just don't necessarily understand exactly the way that shape is going to interact, but I just try and give like a nice poppy image. But yeah, so it's just a little more cleaning up, and you can kind of see me start touching up some of those little dings in the metal and kind of hitting those outlined edges so you can kind of see exactly where the light's casting or what it's catching, and try and helps carve out that shape a little bit. It's funny that this one, the steampunk hammer, out of all of them is my favorite one because I think it's by far the one that needs the most cleaning. It feels like the dwarf one needs some cleaning, but it's probably the most refined out of all of them. But yeah. See, and you can kind of see me start touching the line weight a little bit here and there, but it's still gonna need a whole lot more. So there we are. Those are the hammers in their rough stage, and I will record a video when I start to clean them up. And if you like the video, go ahead and subscribe, tell your friends about it. If you didn't like the video, tell me what you think I could do better, and see you next time, guys. Laters.